Welcome back to the Woe Penny podcast. I'm Grace Clark, and this week we are talking all about breakups. I found some gorgeous stories online, outrageous, juicy drama of the way people were broken up with, the reasons that people broke up with people, and I had to share them with you because we are, if nothing, about the drama here at Woe Pony. Shall we move on to the first story of the evening? It's quite short, just to ease us in. My fiance is in capital letters here. I want to push that because I feel like the author wants us to really focus on that. My fiance and I lived together and had our locations shared with each other on our iPhones. I was at work one day, and when I went on my lunch, I noticed he had stopped sharing his location with me. I kept calling him for him to finally tell me a few hours later he couldn't do this anymore and didn't know how to leave, so he just packed his stuff and left while I was at work. Not great.
How's your head? Not great.
Quite cold. The fiancé bit really does put into play the extra lengths that were in that relationship. It's the iPhone location for me. Moving on to the next story. I had a guy I was only dating for a little while tell me that he had terminal cancer and couldn't see me anymore because he didn't have much time left. I don't see this going really very well, do you? I didn't really believe him, but he did seem to vanish off the face of the world, which did make me wonder. That was until a few years later I bumped into him whilst on a date with my now husband. Well, the fact that you didn't really believe him to begin with, I wonder what the reasons were for you not believing him, and then I mean, you did bump into him anyway, but that is oh gosh, man. I didn't actually realise that they were going to get this deep. I did my usual sort of spot check, you know, are they appropriate for la radio, but I didn't realise they were going to get this deep. Next one. We were high school sweethearts and had been dating for 4 years. I was in school in Chicago and he was back home in Texas. As far as I'm aware, I think they're quite far from each other. The map of the US in my mind is telling me that they are quite far, but I could be wrong. I'm not entirely sure where Chicago is. I think it's up north somewhere. Not sure. It's not relevant really, is it? He texted me while I was in class and said to call him. It was an emergency. He dumped me over the phone literally 2 hours after calling and telling me how much he loved me and how he couldn't wait to see me soon. The worst part is that I was leaving straight from class to go to the airport to fly home to see him for Valentine's Day weekend. Oh. And I couldn't refund the ticket. Oh, babes. Oh. I sobbed in front of my professor and my whole class in the entire plane ride. I then found out he was cheating on me with a girl that he had been complaining about to me for 2 months. Fast forward 3 years, I stayed in Chicago post-grad, found out from a high school friend that he and the girl just moved here 5 blocks away from me. What is this lad's problem? Oh, nice and short, next one. I got ghosted after 7 months. When I finally got a hold of him, he told me that he had never loved me. He just wanted to see how long he could string me along. I did not write that. However, it's shockingly similar to a situation I had once. Partway through that, I thought, did I write that? I didn't. Ghosting is the true pandemic of the 21st century. Dear, oh dear. Next one, another quite short one. A full-grown adult man. It's a great way to start it. A full-grown adult man once dumped me because he didn't like the way I raised my dog. My current boyfriend loves me and my dog. She's even more spoilt now. That sounds like something that my brother would do. No, I'm sure he wouldn't do that. On to the next one. After almost 4 years, I kind of got a feeling that he wasn't into it anymore. But he didn't come out and say it. It was just little things that felt off. After a few months, we went from saying I love you to never saying it, even if I said it first. The place we shared got messier and messier. He would be out all night, just all round cold with me, and not to mention, sex went from 3 times a week to maybe once a month in that time. Well, I'd had enough and finally talked to him about it. When I did, he said he was hoping that I would dump him if he treated me poorly enough so he wouldn't have to do it himself. What a coward. Yeah, that is...
That's so much more effort
than just dumping someone. To go to those lengths just to try and make someone really be put off by you so that they'll do it instead. That's such a lot of effort, way more effort than just dumping someone. I know that dumping someone can be really, really hard, but that's dreadful.
What the hell is the matter with you? I don't like doing this with you like that.
Anyway, it's not my relationship. On to the next one. She was already kind of distant, and I was very frustrated that she never seemed to have time for me. She had to work in the morning of my birthday and told me she was going to go home and sleep instead of coming to my party. Ugh. I was so upset after everything that I broke things off with her immediately after she got off work via text. Oh, I'm afraid you don't get points there. That's not great. A bunch of our co-workers showed up to the party and were wondering where she was. I told them she wasn't planning on coming, and they said that she'd just been talking that morning about how she was coming, but wanted it to be a big surprise for me.
That is so awkward.
I can deal with being dumped, but having that guilt knowing that I dumped her and I was in the wrong, that's what kills me. Oh, I mean, it did. By the sounds of it, it wasn't great anyway. You didn't really have much time for each other, but you shouldn't have done that via text. This is why surprises can be a little bit awkward. This is why some people don't like surprises. This is the thing about dumping people, is people don't ever like to be in the wrong. Even if it's for both of their own benefit, they hate to be seen as the bad guy, the bad person, even if it's totally the right thing to do. Sometimes you just have to put up with looking like the bad guy. I don't know why I said that, as I've got experience. My boyfriend went to see his family a state away. Before he left, I was very nauseous all the time and my chest was sore. He was nervous when he left and said he'd be back soon and to keep him updated. I started getting bad cramping and bad bleeding and thought it was just my period, but then when the bleeding stopped, I went to the doctor for tests and it turned out that I had been pregnant and had partially miscarriage. I also had first stage signs of cervical cancer due to HPV that he had given me. I kept him informed of what was going on. He freaked out and he never returned, but admitted that he had been cheating on me with a girl in his hometown. Oh God, so many whammies in that. Not a double whammy, not triple. God, that's dreadful. That's the stuff of nightmares, really. I hope that things are better for you now. I foolishly decided that moving into the same building as my boyfriend would be cute and convenient. After drunk driving my car, getting me mugged and stealing from me, I decided to end it. Hold on. After drunk driving my car, getting me mugged... Huh? How do you... And stealing from me. So it only took those 3 things to decide that you should dump him. See, this is what I mean. In this scenario, even if you do look like the bad guy for dumping someone, I think you're going to be fine. I broke my lease and started packing. My ex was so angry with me that he decided he was going to break into my apartment, plant some drugs, and then call the cops on me. My super called the cops when I saw him trying to get into my apartment. Thank God. Okay, so you didn't get in trouble, but... What? Speechless. I'm absolutely speechless. How do you get someone mugged? That's my question. I've got a lot of thinking to do over that one. I'm glad you're out of it by the sounds of it. I mean, that's... I was dating a fellow for about 4... Fellow what? Oh, a fellow. as in like a man, like a fellow. Like a fella.
We were good fellas, wise guys.
That really threw me off. I thought it meant fellow something, but I've not heard someone use the word fella for a very long time. Not in that spelling anyway. I was dating a fellow for about 4 months, and we were doing pretty well, I thought. She says in brackets. The last week he talked to me a bit less and seemed kind of strange. We were both invited to a mutual friend's party, so I figured I'd ask him what was up there. I mean, that doesn't sound like the best place to have a relationship chat. I arrived first and he came a bit later and introduced everyone to his new girlfriend. He ignored that I was there, but I didn't want to cause a scene at my friend's house, so I waited until the next day. And his response was, yeah, that wasn't how I planned for that to go down. How did you plan for that to go down? What do you mean didn't want to cause a scene? If that's your boyfriend, this fellow, and then he arrives at a mutual friend's party with his
supposed girlfriend.
How have you not popped off? How have you remained calm? How have you got composure? I'd have hit the roof. Not just out of anger, out of sheer confusion. One more before we go to some half-past breaks today. My ex dumped me the day before finals week. We were both pre-meds. I found out later through mutual friends he was using me for help on lab reports. This sounds like a 90s American rom-com. He was using her for help on his lab reports. He definitely had some insecurity issues with me because he was used to being the smarter one in relationships. We love to see it. But I can't get over the fact that he tried to sabotage me by dumping me the day before finals. I did nothing to deserve that. Joke's on him, I was a straight A semester. Yes, Queen! Love that. Gosh, some people are just projecting their insecurities onto others. Why do you always have to be the smartest person in the room? Was a girl smarter than you? Okay, actually, I want to do one more. I'm really enjoying this. And then I'll go to some half-past breaks. I'm sorry, I keep teasing you. Okay, I found out my ex and I weren't together after he posted an Instagram picture with his best friend of 3 years saying, it only took me 3 years to ask her out. Oh. And on that note,